Hi chat, today I want to do a brief discussion on another aspect of the is Splatoon dying type of deal, right? I talked recently about tournaments and how we do have a lot of players in tournaments, they're just very spread out. Here's another attribute. This was a Splatoon poll held on a Splatoon 3 Discord server, I think a relatively popular one, about, how do people consume content? And there's two main things that I want to look at here. The first one is the very top one, which shouldn't be new information, which is, wow, look at this. A lot of people use YouTube for content. It's basically all but 2% of people look for Splatoon content on YouTube if they're interested in it. But the bigger one is down here. If you're interested in watching tournaments, do you know where to find the broadcasts? 226 people responded, and 76% of them, just over 3/4 of them, said they don't know where to find it. Right? They don't know where they are. Even more concerning is second place is Twitch instead of YouTube. Which means that the majority of people we have who are finding VODs are probably finding them on the live streams. But the VODs might die after that, which is not good, right? You can only run an event one time. There can only be a live stream, and it's awesome to have people on the live stream, but eventually you want people finding the VODs. You want VODs that are able to spread and get shared around. So I want to talk a little bit about where you can find them, get you guys a nice list that you can easily search up, and hopefully spread a bit more awareness about this and talk about what we could do about it. So let's start with who I'd consider to be the gold standard, right? This is IPL. This is their tournament VODs, right? They have not just Splatoon tournament videos, but they have other content on their channel. Popgun's moved the Popcast here, so you can hear Popcast discussions on there from Popgun. You get to see the Weekly Inc., a series that covers, what Splatoon tournaments happened this week, who won them, all that kind of information. You have trailers for upcoming tournament series. You have full tournament VODs on here. You have shorts content going over certain moments. You have even more live stream VODs over here, and they're all organized into playlists. They even have a podcast section, so they have a playlist, so you can go find these specific tournaments and look up VODs from them. It's all here, and they've been growing pretty well. I think IPL's been doing a great job, and I think if your channel looks something like this as a TL, when Splatoon 4 or a content extension comes around and Splatoon is algorithm favored, this is going to look really nicely for you. Brand your videos around the new stuff, and you'll do really good with it. So this is a good standard, I think. I think this is very viewer-friendly for those who manage to stumble upon these. There's a few other ones that I want to talk about. There's Splatoon Stronghold, which is a little more varied. It's basically an introduction hub. Some of you guys might have seen some of the things I've talked about with them before, but they also upload videos here. They also have educational shorts that they've been uploading pretty frequently, which is cool. They run the Discord server to help get people into it, and they also have live stream VODs. Other notable examples of this would include Dapple Productions, right? Dapple Productions also does all this stuff I mentioned. Splatoon Tourney is a big one more recently. This one might be something that few of you guys might have seen, but they helped cast the Splatoon LAN Championship as well as the most recent Ludi season. So, very relevant organization, basically gave Ludi a cast, which is extremely important. So another one that you guys can check out. We have Under Pressure that I know for a bit. They've been doing a lot of lower level events mainly, but you can find their VODs here as well. The list goes on. And then from there, there's another obvious one I want to point out because I talk about it all the time, which is Area Cup, the most popular Japanese tournament series, which again has videos, live, playlists, blah, blah, blah. You can go down the road with this kind of thing. They even have some English playlists here, which is pretty cool. And then finally, I want to talk about this, right? Look at this. The Area Cup I just talked about. Area Cup Crown. Posted here. Along with a whole ton of player highlights for tournaments. Here's one of mine that ended up on here, right? This is mostly players, but you can sometimes find tournament casts on sendoink/VODs. In fact, you can, I believe you can search specifically for it. Yeah, you can search specifically for tournament casts. And look at this. Here's a bunch of Area Cups. Here's Miku Miku Beam number 7. Stuff like that you can look up. The low ink VODs, you can find them. Now, I will get right off the bat, while I have heavily promoted Sendoink, and I think that people should definitely contribute to it, Sendoink VODs is more of a thing that's great when you're already in the community. No outsider is going to get recommended Sendoink VODs in their YouTube recommendations. Another thing that I've heard people talk about a bit is having a channel like VG Bootcamp, where a lot of tournament VODs are kind of compiled into one. Like, look at all of these playlists, for instance, so that you could be able to kind of compile these things into one. And while I think that's nice in theory, I'm not sure how feasible that is. But it does play into the discussion I talked about with tournaments, where if we have all these tournament series under organizations, then it'll be easier to find VODs. Like IPL has a bunch of different tournaments that are all under one barrier. So that still puts a lot of VODs in one spot, but it still allows there to be different positions for different orgs who want to do their own things, which I think is an important compromise. Finally, I want to talk about this VOD, how to easily find competitive Splatoon videos. This got about 8,000 views, and it basically bombed in its performance, which is to be expected. But this was a VOD about finding competitive content. This has a list of people who, said they would actively post content. Now, how have all of them posted active content on the channels? Might be a bit of another story, but it's still useful. And I have updated the end of the list with these VODs here. So I will link this VOD in the description, and in the description of this VOD, at the very bottom, is all the orgs, and I've updated it with the new ones that weren't there last time, if you're interested in checking them out. This song's a little loud. Let me turn it down. Thank you, Donkey Kong. But I wanna briefly just talk past this, right? About the issue as a whole, because that's where you can find it. And I said earlier that I believe that we've been making some progress on these issues, and I do agree on that. I think we have come a bit of a long way, for sure. But I think it's also worth noting that I think that this could be better. I think the main thing that I would ask people to change, or something to think about, is branding, right? And I'm going to be a little picky here, right, on some of these. I feel like things like the weekly recap should rethink their thumbnail structure. If there's a tournament that's really notable for having a specific team or something, I think the branding should be a little more focused around that. You can always have the description clarify what the tournament is, the bracket, etc. I think branding matches are kind of important. And this is something that Smash actually kind of gets right, that's a bit harder to replicate. Say I don't know anything about all these players, because I don't know who most of these players are, I would say. If I like, I don't know, let's pick a character here, Joker. Let's say I like Joker VODs, right? I can look at the thumbnail and I can instantly find, here's a match with Joker, here's a match with Joker in it. If I go to Splatoon and I go, oh, I'm a Dapple Dooley player, I want to find a Dapple VOD. Okay, funny example, because there's an org for it. But let's say I want to find a VOD of a tournament that has a Dapple in it. It's kind of hard to go look at the thumbnails and figure out where I'm going to find a Dapple. So if sets are highlighted individually, like you just have one team against another, you could put, the weapons side by side. Even then, it's 8 weapons, which is obviously going to be more cluttered than 2 big characters. But I feel like highlighting a little bit more individual sets would be awesome. For example, for Splatoon Tourney, right here, I think that it is, essential to highlight the Moonlight set that went to a Game 9 in Ludi. That top 4 set was awesome. I don't see it up here because I'm assuming, yeah, it's just here in this cast VOD right now, right? I would love it if these individual matches would be clipped and posted, and they would be titled and thumbnailed around the specific match. Because when you're branding around the match instead of the specific team, when you're branding around the specific match instead of the overall tournament, I feel like you can do a lot more in showcasing what makes that match special and what makes people care, right? Alliance Rogue beating Starburst in Ink TV, I don't have it on me right now, has a lot of views, and I'm willing to bet a lot of it is because it's that match. And it's branded around that match, so people knew about it. There's obviously other factors, but that's something I'd like to see, right? I'd love to see these big matches highlighted separately. Obviously, though, that's more work, and anyone doing this kind of work is probably doing it for free. So, obviously it's whatever we can get, but I hope this little bit of suggestions was helpful for anyone working into TOing. And then if you want to help this problem, first off, if you're part of the community, share these around. I watched this tournament. It was cool. Look at this VOD. Hey, did you guys check out this set? Go promote it. If you see a post that the YouTube video went live on an IPL channel, go share it around, stuff like that. Supporting the videos, liking the videos, commenting on the videos, subscribing to the channels, all helps to get them around and get them spread on the algorithm. So that's a basic part. And then if you're someone who wants to help for content creation, you can probably ask a lot of these tournament organizers, hey, do you want help getting VODs? I can cut out sets and upload them, or I can do a thumbnail, or something along those lines. If there's any of you watching who would be interested in doing that, then I'd encourage you to try to reach out to these organizations and see if you can chip in, because that can definitely help. I can imagine a lot of these would do better with just a few basic things that help with the YouTube algorithm. So that's all I gotta say. I think there's a problem that will get better, but hopefully I've helped, outline a few more steps. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all later. Have a good one.